Hello and welcome to my reading about signs of divorce or possible evidence of stress within a relationship. I'm going to have two pictures for you so I can draw and describe these meanings. First of all, obviously when we speak of marriage and relationships, we look to the relationship lines. So all of these lines, including the lines on the palm, they reflect past actions, what has led you up to this point, the way you've been thinking and what you've been doing. So don't just assume that every line is foretelling the future. It is actually foretelling more the current status based on what has happened. So this evidence that I have gathered is based on a person who has already divorced. So the signs are definitely there. So that whether the signs were there prior, the warnings might have been there, the stress warnings might have been there prior to the marriage, or possibly not. It's possible they showed up during that time of the divorce. But I will explain these to you and the combination of markings that you need to have for evidence of such. So I'm sure you're probably aware, if you have got any clue of palmistry, that the marriage lines are on the side of the pinky. This hand has a couple. Now my mouse is not working properly. What's happening? I'm having some issues. Okay, so there is two marriage lines. That is one of the first possible signs of a divorce or more than one relationship. So it is possible that the first line was never a marriage, and then the longer second line shows a marriage at a later date. In this case, it would be after the age of 30. Okay, so signs of stress in a relationship that could lead to divorce are such as an island. An island is where the line splits and comes back together. If it is at the start of the line like this, it could represent problems early in the marriage, and then if the line continues straight, that is showing that everything was resolved. If the island is a little bit later on, towards the end, that would show problems towards the end of the marriage. Now, one of the main signs on the marriage line of a split relationship is a fork at the end. So this first line would have a fork, showing that that relationship went their separate ways. And sometimes there can be what's called a deletion line or even a cross on that line. Other times the line can be fuzzy. It can just turn out as if it's just been rubbed out. It's just got all fuzzy lines all over it. That's a sign of stress in a relationship or a sign of stress in search of love, for instance. But the fork at the end is one of the most clear signs of a split relationship. Sometimes there is a second line directly underneath the marriage line. That second line can be another person who comes into the relationship, which does happen. Often divorce is due to one of the couples finding love elsewhere outside of the relationship, and that can show up as a secondary line directly beneath that marriage line. Okay, so I'll get the other picture up for you that shows what to look for on the palm. So right here we have a marriage line which ends about there. It's a bit hard for you to see. But on this hand, this here is the heart line. that's where your emotions are, and it shows your emotions. So then there is many stress lines. You see these stress lines, and they go beyond, they are reaching beyond the heart line up to the, there is a partial girdle of Venus there. So there's a lot of stress that's reaching the heart line all the way through. So the divorce or the stress in a relationship shows in all these stress lines that reach all the way to the heart line, because the emotions are affected. When a person is stressed or worried in their relations, the emotions are the ones that are feeling it. So if it only went to the headline, then it's just some mental stress, but not as bad as the emotional stress. And in this case, they just continue. And so it's obvious that there's been problems. This is the hand that was divorced. Obviously, there was problems for a long time, early on, from a young age. And finally, some stress lines, they're sort of jagged. I don't know if you can see them, so I'm drawing them. Reaches. It goes all the way up to this marriage line on the palm. Another one is where there's a lifeline going a certain way and then suddenly changes course. Lifeline changing course can mean many different things, but if we are looking for every possible clue for possible divorce, then a change in the lifeline shifting is showing a new life. It's hitting the fate. There's often branches to the fate line. So it's showing that some occurrence makes changes in the life. The changes may also show in the fate line. So the fate line may be overlapping, an overlapping break, or it may be a clean break, or it might just change course altogether. And that can be career related in most cases, but if we are looking at relationship change, then it is going to be there as well. Now, another one on the lifeline, often if a person gets divorced, if the couple gets divorced, there are things called property settlement. Everybody needs to decide what belongs to whom. So some people might have a loss. A loss would show up on the lifeline as a drooping line on the inside there that I just drew. So that drooping line, just there, if you missed it, here's my arrow. A drooping line shows a loss mostly of something great. So it's not just like you lost your car in a divorce. It would be like something big, like a house, or even a person. If you lose a person that you care for dearly, that can show up as a loss as well. Okay, what else have we got? Stress signs often is dry skin. So if you have, I can't draw dry skin, but if you have areas, especially around the Mount of Apollo, that's the area of your relationships. If you have dry skin around the Mount of Apollo, if the area underneath the pinky on the side is also got a lot of dry skin, that's a sign of stress in relationships. And also if there are any nodules and little warts all over the palm, little round white lumps or pale lumps or shiny little lumps, they can show a lot of long-term stress, which could be related to other things other than relationships as well. So be careful with that. It may be health related. So look to any health problems if you see those dots or warts on the palm. But overall, they are a sign of long-term stress. So there you go. there are your many signs of stress in relationships which could lead to divorce. And if you have these signs, it might be a warning for you, and you might be able to work out how to resolve it, and the lines will change accordingly. And hopefully happy ending for all. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, please subscribe to my channel, and please visit www.destinypalmistry.com. See you later. Bye.